myth, legend, superstition, a land of secrets lost to the sands of time, to the jungles of space, and to the torches of aliens. Yes, today, young ones, we discuss tales from the continent of South America. Did you hear that?
I don't think I
Just me? Just me with that? You know, when I said,
South America!
What?
I think you're imagining things again.
Was that David Bowie? Isn't he dead?
David Bowie could never die.
Are we being haunted by the accursed ghost of David Bowie? Are we being affected by some sort of dastardly curse from a bygone, forgotten epoch? You wouldn't know anything about any sort of curses. I feel like I'm forgetting something. But you know, that might be part of the curse.
It rings a bell.
If there was a curse, it's like locusts, flesh-eating zombies and ghosts, memory loss. You know? That, or you end up sleeping with your mother or your sister or something. That happens with curses. It happened to the Greeks. I mean, they wrote it down, so it's not forgotten, but, you know.
I'd rather the flesh-eating zombies.
Yes. Yes, I agree. 100%. Rather be eaten alive by zombies.
Yes.
Anyway, young ones, even as the Spaniards gave in to their superstitions and their greed, their bloodlust, as they came upon the American shores for the first time, so shall we give in to our desire for morbid tales, for horrible legends and spooky secrets. Yes, we shall talk. We shall relate tales unto you, dear viewer. Tales from eras both proud and humble. But remember, dear viewer, pride always comes before. Over 60,000 lives were lost during the course of Operation Condor in the 1970s and 80s. Operation Condor was backed by the United States, an attempt to reduce leftist influence in South America. Operation Condor may have been backed by the United States, but the actions were performed and endorsed by the military dictatorships of South America: Chile, Uruguay, Peru, Argentina. The countries a myriad, it seems. 3,000 lives were lost to the Chilean dictatorship, 30,000 in Argentina. However, some of these lives were lost in a uniquely memorable, dare I say, flashy way. Death flights. Death by helicopter drop. It seems like the kind of execution that could only happen in an old-timey action movie. However, in the 1970s and 80s, this practice was gruesome reality for two of the major dictatorships of South America. These deaths, numbering at least in the hundreds in Chile, and at least in the thousands in Argentina, remain relevant to this very day, as the bereaved of those who have lost their lives to the death caravans and brutal regimes of Operation Condor remain vocal to this very day, clamoring for the justice that has been denied them all these many years. Hope only beginning to peek through the clouds. The actions of the anti-leftist regimes of Augustus Pinochet and George Rafael Videla should not be forgotten during these trying times. Even as the actions and nightmares of our past fade away, it serves us well to remember why they occurred and who incurred them. And it doesn't help to know whose wrath should be incurred. My young ones, enough of this dread and drawl. Now for a wail of a tale about everybody's favorite maritime pastime. Cannibalism. Bon appetit. Holy Grail, white whale. These words are oft associated with Captain Ahab and his fervent pursuit of a white whale for its spermaceti and ambergris. But for those whalers keen enough to remember the true historical tale that inspired the literary adventures of Moby Richards, the pursuit of blubber takes on a whole new, ghastly meaning. The Essex was a whaling vessel operating out of Nantucket, the whaling capital of the world. They had rounded Cape Horn, sailed the Strait of Magellan, and found their way into the waters off of Chile and Peru. The voyage had been treacherous. Their ship had nearly capsized. They had lost whaling boats and suffered a desertion along the way. Though not all was ill omen for the Essex, toward the end of their journey, things had started to turn around. They were finding whales to whale, collecting the delicious spermaceti for later sale. Ugh. Sperm. Ugh. Sperm. They had even managed to contribute to the field of modern biology by stopping by one of the Galapagos Islands and starting a fire which rampaged across the whole thing, decimating the local population of tortoises. But it's okay, because they had gathered up several hundred tortoises for eating, and some of them even survived later catastrophe long enough to be eaten. All seemed to be going well. Them boys were out whaling in their little whaling boats when the cabin boy saw it. A great white whale. It struck the boat, and then it struck the boat, and then it destroyed the Essex, sending it down to Davy Jones' locker. Food for the squids and the crabs. All hope seemed lost. The 3 surviving whaling boats of the voyage gathered up a couple of turtles and a little bit of supplies and made for South America. They would have stopped at another island, but they feared cannibalism. As they voyaged through the heart of the Pacific in their tiny boats, they, by lucky accident, fell upon a small island with a spring and a small amount of wildlife. A handful of the sailors, all non-Nantucketers, saw this as a good opportunity to get off the boats. It seems they too feared cannibalism as much as their Nantucket brethren. So the Nantucketers and the non-Nantucket black crew members of the Essex set off once again from the island, after depleting most of its natural resources, in an attempt to reach the Easter Islands, or perhaps even South America. Things were dire. Men starved and were eaten on each boat. That is when it happened. This, my dear viewers, is just the grisly prologue to the dire event I wish to discuss now. While each of the boats partook of the flesh of dead, starved men, only one of them resorted to grisly murder, or at least only one that we know of. The incident happened aboard the whaling boat led by the Essex's captain, George Pollard Jr. They drew lots to see who would die and be eaten. They drew lots, and the winner was Owen Coffin, the unfortunately named nephew of George Pollard. George Pollard had taken an oath to protect the boy before he left Nantucket. However, Owen Coffin insisted that he be killed and eaten, and who could blame him? The men were starving, dying of thirst, desperate. And who could blame him? The men were starving, low on water, desperate and doomed, and more. He who drew the lot to kill him by somehow increased misfortune turned out to be his childhood friend, Charles Ramsdell. Charles had suggested the idea of killing and eating someone, so he experienced a sort of a movie classic moment where he was unwilling at first to pull the trigger. Ultimately, though, boys gotta eat. And sometimes boys have to eat their boyhood friends. So the young men dined on Owen Coffin, and the old man, the captain as well. One of the boats went missing, lost to the Pacific until it washed ashore, housing only spooky skeletons. The 3 they left on a desolate island were rescued by a passing boat. And one of the other whaling boats was also found, with the crew part eaten, but also part crazy. when they found George Pollard and Charles Ramsdell on their boat, they had cracked the bones of their dead mates. They sucked the marrow and licked the bones dry. It is said that they clung to those delicious bones with desperateness until they were brought aboard and taken home to dear Nantucket. The men of the Essex, those who survived, lived out their lives. Some returned to whaling, only to find themselves stalked by a curse, tragedy befalling them at sea. Others lived out broken lives, haunted by the tragedy of what they had done, hoarding food, shutting themselves in, and remaining far from the sea. Dear viewers, remember, it is a dog-eat-dog world, a man-eat-dog world, a dog-eat-man world, and most importantly, a world where you eat or get eaten. Also, if you ever need to eat a person and they are starved lean, make sure you suck some marrow out of the bones. It's got fat, it'll keep you alive.
Of all the places in the world, you'd think that a small island in the middle of Chile would be the most unassuming place on the planet, right? Nothing going on here. It's beautiful, picturesque. It's a little hard for people to eke out a living here, but they do it, right? You know, it's much easier in modern times. And you'd be wrong. So very wrong. Just wrong. Incorrect. No points for you. The Island of Chuloe is a small, unassuming place. In modern times, it's a bit of a tourist trap. You know, it's nice enough. Its history is not nice. Not nice at all. For a long time, one of the major influences on the island was a sect of male witches who called themselves, and forgive me because I don't speak Spanish and I'm probably gonna butcher this like I butcher everything else, La Recta Provincia. It translates to the righteous province, and that's what I'm gonna call them because I can say that, right? So this sect of male witches is supposedly said to have all kinds of these powers, right? They're like the biggest force on the island, you know? They kind of just exist to terrify the people of the island into giving them money so then they don't end up dead in their beds come morning. Yeah. They're pretty bad characters. The Righteous Province is kind of known for a couple of things, and there's a lot more folklore out there. And it's interesting, don't get me wrong. It's just if you're squeamish, you probably don't want to look at it. I'm a tad squeamish myself. So, supposedly, according to folklore, there's a ravine on this island, and in this ravine, they have a cave, secret cave. Secret tunnel! It's It's where all the secret hideout stuff happens. It's where they meet, you know, everybody goes there and it's like, oh yeah, who'd you curse this week? Spanish name. You know, I got my neighbor. Other Spanish name. Anyways, that's where they meet, is this hidden cave that, you know, you had to open with an alchemist's key, and apparently it's guarded by like 2 truly terrifying monsters that I also can't pronounce the names of, that started out as human babies and are like really disformed and really creepy. Anyways, you know, the cave's kind of creepy as well. There's lanterns all around burning human fat for light. Human fat. And that's not even the most gruesome thing. In the cave, there's like the 2 major items of this sect of male witches, right? There's this book that contains all kinds of spells and curses and things that have been handed down, bound in human flesh. And there's a bowl that, when filled with water, will reveal secrets. But that's like the tamest part of this, right? That little bowl is like the tamest part of this thing. So it's said to become part of the group, the Righteous Province, you have to bathe in like the freezing cold river of this island for 15 nights to wash away your Christian baptism. And then there's a whole bunch of other unfortunate things you have to do as well, including killing a loved one, some member of your family that you're close to make a bag from their skin to carry around your spell book. It's really no wonder that the people of the island were like terrified of them. I'd be kind of terrified too if I thought people were going around making bags out of their loved one's skin to join this group.
Free your skin. I do not want to free my skin.
I'm not even done with the skin thing, and this is before like the island was even part of Chile. Like Chile didn't exist at this point, right? So yeah, other things these male witches can do include transforming young women into these giant creepy pterodactyl-like creatures to go and spy on people, wearing a lizard or salamander of some kind on their head to increase their magic. I don't get it, but okay. Fashioning a coat that makes them defy gravity out of either the skin of another dead witch that's been cured, or the flayed skin of a Christian woman that has been dug up from her grave, that also makes them glow in the dark. They have this thing with skin. Like, it's a lot of skin, you know?
I nurture my skin.
A lot of skin. But anyways, we know about all this because there's a trial, right? A witch trial. It's like the last major trial in all of the world, last major witch trial in all of the world, right? And it takes place in but it takes place in the early 1880s. there's a lot of pressures going on around the island. There's some civil wars happening. There's some wars to the north of the island, and everybody's just kind of feeling it. Who knows what government they're going to end up under the rule of, and that's really why this trial happens. It's like everything is happening, and there's pressure and pressure and pressure, and so you have to start blaming people for things, right? And that's kind of just how witch trials happen. But anyways, so the witch trials start happening, and they've rounded up over 100 members of this group, right? And about a third of them, thereabouts, according to most of the sources, were just regular healers from different villages around that just got mixed up in all of this because people are like, they're doing magic. They've obviously got to be part of this nefarious group. But most of them were just regular old village healers, you know, nothing really to do with any of this. And for the most part, they're let off scot-free. Nothing I can find suggests that any of them were persecuted further after this. Then you get to the other 2/3 of it, and close to about 50 to 70% of that were actual murders, people who were known for committing these murders and racketeering and taking money for protection and all these kinds of things, and they're all executed. As far as I can tell, it's just a regular execution. There's no note of them being burned at stake anywhere that I could find. So that's nice, you know. One of the only witch trials I think I've ever read about that didn't have somebody being burned to death. And the last bit were also condemned to death, but mostly for like radical ideas and like false charges. Like the last bit of these people truly thought they were part of some sort of legal island government that was allowed to do these things, do what they wanted, all that jazz. So by the end of the trials, a third of them were pretty much let go, you know, go back to your villages, go back to your way of life. And the rest of them, for the most part, I can tell, were executed. It's really interesting because a lot of the people in these trials, the men in these trials, would like voluntarily give information about the group. There are a couple of instances that say if you can complete all the requirements to become a part of the group, they'd take the bodies of the people you had killed to the cave and break them down and have a feast and eat the flesh. That was a popular myth. There's a couple other ones about needing to drain victims of blood for different rituals. They were very forthcoming with the details, and what makes it interesting is that they were so forthcoming with the details that a lot of it made it like into the actual papers from the trial. Like they've been written down, and you can go and look at that stuff, find it quite easily. It's just how to describe it. All in all, it didn't stop all of the group, like they didn't get all of the group, but it definitely toned things down from there afterwards. I'll say it definitely put a stop to some of the, you know, the pay for protection, I'm gonna curse you if you don't kind of things. You know, that the general feel of the island afterwards was much safer according to some of the records from the trial. There's not a lot on what happens after the trial, except for that, you know, people felt that it was much safer with so many people being executed for their crimes. It's just, the group themselves is so nefarious, and some of the things that they're supposedly reported to have done are so creepy that it just kind of puts you on edge. You could make a really, truly terrifying, like, murder mystery or horror series just based upon them. So, yeah, the Righteous Province, terrifying group that basically ruled the island of Chuloe with fear and death for a long, long time. So if you learned anything from this video, just you know, take care of your skin, watch your skin, make sure it's still attached to your flesh and bones. Don't trust anyone with your skin. It's important. It's vital to your life as it is now. Yeah. Take care of it. It's good stuff. Your skin. Soft, usually. God, I don't know, babe.
It's a bestiary, everybody come see some bees.
Do you like swimming in lakes? I know I like swimming in lakes. Always make sure to take cactus with you. It's a sunny day in Chile. You're going for a walk. It's nice. Go down, see the local lake, and oh, what's this? There's something floating in the water. Better go take a look. Just 'cause things are so hunky-dory in my life, couldn't be anything bad. Nope, no siree, Bob. Beautiful day, birds singing. It's great. It's great. It's great. You wade into the water. What's this, you say? Somebody's left a perfectly good hide out here in the middle of this lake where nobody's gonna be able to hear me scream. Oh no! It's got eyeballs. It's got claws. It's dragging you under the water, suffocating you, and now you've been bled dry. Congrats! Welcome to your death. Your corpse floats on the lake. Somebody will find you eventually. You're wrapped up, sucked dry. No more you. Your body's left floating in the lake for the next poor passerby to go, hey, what's that floating in the middle of the lake? I don't know. Let's go find out.
Wait, so you become one of these?
Nope. Your corpse just floats on the water and it attracts more people. It leaves your body floating on the lake in an attempt to attract more nice, juicy meals. I was gonna say, hide, it could be any kind of hide. It takes many different forms. Forms is a word, obviously. It takes many different forms. It can be a goat skin, sheep skin. It's usually a white and brown cow hide. You know, mixes it up, keeps it different, keeps it fresh. It's gotta keep those humans on their toes, right? Whatever you do, don't approach a hide floating in the water, unless you've got some cactus on hand. Wouldn't you know, that's the only way to kill one of these damn things. Take the cactus, you throw it at it. It's stupid, it can't see properly. It's like a shark, right? Can't see you, so it's gonna nom you a little bit to see what it is. It's gonna grab the cactus, get pricked all over. It bleeds to death. It's gonna be kind of gruesome, you know, just blood everywhere in the water. There's a bit of hide floating around. You're standing in the middle of it. There's a cactus branch going that way. The Quero. Certainly a creature you wouldn't want to meet on your own. Certainly not something you want to approach without a cactus. Don't go near lakes without a cactus. It will save your life. Thank you all for joining us once again during our Halloween spooktacular.
Yes.
Even if some of the truths of Operation Condor disgust me.
Yes. Oh, and seagulls. They're really freaky and spooky.
And the Quero, it truly makes my skin crawl.
Yes, a truly freaky beast.
Terrifying.
In fact, me and Yorick have decided to create a fund to grow cactuses to protect the children of the American Midwest. The orphans, dare I say.
You do realize
From
it's
this-
cacti.
From this deadly beast. Please visit a Patronagi account. You know, the account where you go and you give people money. In exchange, they continue to create the products you appreciate about them.
In this case, grow cacti.
Do you hear that? In the distance, it's moving so fast. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. No. The ghostly, disembodied head of David Bowie. No.
Okay! America!
It's clicked.
Guess you won't be making those lanyards after all.
I'm gonna cut it into strips and make lanyards or some shit.